This is Investor Ideas, and it's time for Wind Down Wednesday. The stock market can be exciting or very stressful. You never know what to expect. So take a few minutes and wind down with us today. Sit back with a glass of wine, relax, and join us for today's interview. Cheers.
Chad, I guess this is one of the few times in the day you get to sit down and wind down, so to speak, in your hectic schedule. Can you give us an idea of what a day in the life of a business owner and an executive movie producer is like? And when you have so many things to juggle, how you do it?
Strictly chaos, 24/7. No, actually, it's a lot of fun being involved in business and in film. There's a lot of synergies for what I'm doing in film and in business. But it starts off the day with many phone calls, answering a lot of emails, lots of meetings throughout the day. Some of my businesses are overseas, so there's a time difference, so I'm up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning answering some of the business calls that come in. But my routine, hasn't changed for the last 15, 16 years. It really starts at like 4 or 5 in the morning to about, 1 or 2. I only get 2 hours of sleep. So that's why having a glass of wine or 2 or 3 every day kind of keeps the doctor away. I live by that motto. You work hard, you play harder, and we work very hard, both in film and in business.
Chad, you've brought in writer, director, and actor Tommy as the president and CEO of the Woodhaven production company in the last year. Has that enabled you to focus more on certain projects? And what are the two of you collaborating on right now?
Great question. Tommy took over Woodhaven, one of the 2 production companies that my wife Michelle and I were involved in. It's Verdi Productions and Woodhaven. We just couldn't handle it, and he was ready to take him over. And Tommy was involved in every film that Woodhaven produced and filmed over the last 5 years. It allowed me to branch out through Verdi Productions and very fortunately be working with people like Martin Scorsese and Bruce Cohen, Oscar winners, on the Paz project called Bleed for This. It allowed us to go to Taiwan and film Silence, that was written and directed by Marty and starred Liam Neeson and Andrew Garfield. We did the 50-Year Argument, that's now on HBO, another film that was directed, or documentary directed by Marty. So it enabled us to do a lot more in a very short period of time, and no one deserved it more than Tommy, and cheers to that.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Tommy, can you talk about the last movie that you and Chad worked on and Chad actually invested in, called Almost Mercy, and how that film took you into this next step as president and CEO of his production company?
Almost Mercy is by far the most complete film that I've ever made. I had made a couple of more borderline horror comedies, movies that didn't really take themselves too seriously. And then Almost Mercy came along, and I co-wrote that with B. Dolan, and it was a much more serious film and a much more serious story. So Chad kind of gave me the opportunity to mature a little bit as a filmmaker, take on some new content that wasn't necessarily as mainstream as a lot of the stuff I did. Almost Mercy is a little bit of a unique film, and it deals with a couple of really sensitive issues. So it was really a great chance to just grow and develop as a filmmaker. And I think I used a lot of that growth to move forward into the next project that we'll be doing, which is currently untitled, but that'll be a Verdi production. So I'm excited to take what I learned in Woodhaven and now kind of go to the next level.
To me, that was a stepping stone of why I thought you were able to take over Woodhaven, because that gave you the opportunity to learn not just being a director, but to produce and how to sell a film. And I think you learned a lot, and you branched out and grew a lot on that film.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more to filmmaking than just writing a script, hiring some actors, and making a film. And that's what I learned on that movie.
And you can tell, because it's the best film Woodhaven actually has filmed and produced and sold. So credit to you on that. But I think that was the stepping stone of giving me the confidence that you and your team could take over without question and excel.
And you can watch Almost Mercy now on Netflix.
That's right. Cheers to that too. Yes. I love it.
Chad, what movies are in your pipeline right now, and what are the ones you're most excited about?
I'm most excited about the release of Bleed for This, starring Miles Teller and Aaron Eckhart, the true story of Vinny Pazienza, who made the greatest comeback in sports history after breaking his neck and becoming a 5-time world champion boxer when doctors said he'd never walk again, never mind box. So that release, which will take place sometime in October, is what I'm most excited about. And then following that in December, it's really a combination now, 1-2 punch, because then Silence comes out. And we have, starring Liam Neeson and Andrew Garfield, written and directed by Martin Scorsese. And that's going to be released around Christmas.
Tom, and what's next for Woodhaven?
We've been doing a lot of different things at Woodhaven, and I'm really excited about it. Originally, Woodhaven was known as pretty much just a horror movie house. We had made several horror films to get kicked off, and I love the horror genre, but it's something that, as a filmmaker, sometimes you grow and you want to try some different things, and we've been very fortunate to work on a couple of family comedies and some movies that are kind of in a different genre altogether. We made a film called Arlo, which is the polar opposite of any of the films that I've ever made in the past. It's a family film about a little girl who moves and she's not happy with her new place that she lives, and then this cute, cuddly little pig comes into her life as her pet, and it changes everything for her. So, big departure from a lot of the other films that I've made, but again, it's nice to stay sharp and to tell different types of stories as a filmmaker too.
Chad, you were recently awarded the Sam Spiegel Producer Award. Can you tell us about the presenting event and the significance of that award and how that felt to you?
Just to be mentioned in the same sentence as the great Sam Spiegel is a great honor. But that night was one of the highlights of being involved in film, having Martin Scorsese, congratulate myself on winning the Sam Spiegel Award. Was just, him taking time out of his very busy schedule, editing. Silence was just incredible. And then being there with Tommy, Sam, and my wife and the whole team, it was a night to be remembered for sure. We even drank some wine that night too, so it was a great night.
I recently read an article that, Chad, that 2 of your movies were basically Oscar buzz potential for the coming year. Can you tell us about the 2 movies and what your thoughts are in being in that circle of excellence in that kind of company?
Yeah, no, I think I mentioned that earlier, that it just LA Times coming out were the top 10 movies with Oscar buzz, and having 2 of them on that list is incredible. But it's great that other people are recognizing the work, and it's not not from Rhode Island and not local. These people actually in LA know a lot about film. So them mentioning Silence and Bleed for This are very top quality films, and having a real chance to be nominated and win an Oscar is huge.
Tommy and Chad, what advice would you have for budding filmmakers?
I think that Tommy's. This is new to me, actually, being involved in film for only 6 years. I know we've accomplished a lot, but it's because I needed to learn the business, and I needed to grow as a filmmaker and a producer. And Tommy's been doing it a lot longer. So to me, you do this. It's a business to me. To him, it's for the love of the art. So it's different, but today filmmakers need to know this is a very, very difficult business. So the key is to figure out, how to connect yourself with a distributor, because without distribution, there's no reason to be involved in film. You have to have your film or your work distributed.
Yeah, and there's a lot of trial by error. You learn from your mistakes, and it's like anything else. You just got to put the work in, and you'll eventually get better at it.
And we made mistakes.
Plenty of
we plenty of mistakes,
plenty of them.
But we're good at fixing them.
And now, gentlemen, most importantly, since this is an episode of Wine Down Wednesday, what kind of wine are you both drinking, and what do you look for in a great wine?
Okay, right now we're actually drinking a Prosecco, which is a carbonated white wine at this great restaurant called La Masseria. And then we're going to have a glass of Caymus Cabernet, one of my favorites, and that comes from Napa Valley. And this is how you unwind at the end of the day. When you're going 24/7, 7 days a week, it's nice to sit down with good friends and a nice bottle of wine and enjoy it.
Great. And wind down.
Wind down. Cheers.
Cheers.